And I dropped out of school at 15 because they made me drop out because I was just like, I got kicked out of my aunt's house because I wasn't going to school. I was on the street then. I lived with some friends. And I dropped out of school because they were going to kick me out. And I was just, so I would go down to the coffee shop and stuff. So then I freaking realized, I was like, whatever. I made the choice and I sucked it up, Buttercup. I started doing correspondence as I chose to do my, because you get 6 months off instead of a year if you choose to drop out, right? And as I did that, and I stayed in that little apartment with my friends. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, the Baxters for being friends in Ellsworth and Travis and all the people that helped me, Norcroft, that helped me be a child on the street and still have direction and love and acceptance. And, even at that age, I was 14, 15, I think. Yeah, because I was about 15, I guess, 14, 15. And, because I met Nick, my daughter's, who stopped. When I heard his voice, I stopped. But anyways, that's another story. Where was I going with this one? Oh yeah, my actual story of why. So yeah, I was on the street young, and then when my family, when my family had knocked me and not seen me, and they wanted so many rules and acceptance from me as well, not even realizing that of what I was going through. Like, it was just so, oh, no, it's normal, it's just not fine, No, it wasn't, man. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was so wrong. And I was, every day, I had to wake up and face my own mirror of what was put onto me as a belief, as acceptance, and how I looked at myself and how I was. And now when I see how beautiful and how great I had it, it's so wrong. It's so wrong, every part of the system. The hospitals, I've been dragged to the hospitals by my loudness and my crying and stuff, being told for 8 hours that, I know we can't help you until you settle down, we can't. Do you know what? For 8 hours I sat there until a doctor finally came in and I was screaming. And I had an abortion because, forgive me, Father, I did not know what I did because I didn't realize that, that was entrusted with somebody's soul path. And how beautiful and how divine we are, and we do not. Forgive him, Father, for he does not know what he does. It's really, really true, because we don't see what we are. However, the doctor then, I was the last patient, and he just, locks his out, done, and he just left me there, and you get a couple pills, and you go home, you sign your life away, basically. Well, I was the last patient, and he sliced me open, down in Toronto. He sliced me open, and 3 days later, I was bleeding a lot, and, they're like, no, people are like, no, you're fine, you're fine. I'm like, dude, I started feeling myself fading away, and as I was, like, panicking to get a ride there, I was already feeling myself dying, going to the hospital, feeling myself fading and fading in, fading out, kind of like just the feeling of no, a lot of pain, a lot of blood. So I was internally bleeding for 3 days. I was septic infection, I was dying, and for 8 hours I sat in the hospital, and in Bracebridge. And for 8 hours, they sat there and they neglected me and they yelled at me and they looked down on me as if, oh no, you must want drugs. You must want, no, dude, no. I don't touch your fucking pharma pills, okay? I know that you're the corruption. I know that you pushed on. I don't touch your shit, okay? I don't need no want it, okay? And for 8 hours until a doctor, all they had to do was what, boom, 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 and he hit here and I killed. He did an ultrasound. He realized that I was internally bleeding, and he rushed me because they had to rush me to Aurelia because they didn't do things there. Well, Aurelia, when they got there, they deemed me as, I didn't realize this. They sent me home weeks later, and I was like, oh, okay, kind of dumbfounded. I put all my trust in these places, right? They're better than me, and they're smarter than me. Oh, my gosh. And so when I got there, I was still not being kind of looked at. I was on morphine. I was in and out, and Pilates and stuff. I guess I woke up screaming still at in Aurelia. I was like screaming. I was in so much pain, and I was crying, screaming. I'm like, do something. And the nurse looked at me, and she said, what would you like me to do? Sleep you from here to cut you from here to here? And that's the root of all evil right there, the money. That somebody is in a position that they should not be in because of money, and that doctrine paid for that to go through. And that is our health care. Killing us and not listening to us, not hearing us, not being compassionate, not loving us. No, we should be in happy places as our body naturally heals itself. Its harmonic tone will heal it. If you let yourself be a spirit and a body be a body, and you stop coercing it with your mind, dude, it can all our just cells, even our bones regenerate in 1 year. It takes 1 full year for your whole new body, as every now is a new now. It's an ever-changing, always changing body. You're putting stuff into it, it's always changing into new, right? But however, so she's sitting there, and she said, I've already given you enough morphine to overdose you. Like, what do you mean? They put me on fentanyl and Dilaudid, and to get rid of the pain, to actually not feel pain. That's how much I was in pain. So it's for 8 hours, 12, 16 hours probably I went through with complete pain, and they had to put me on so many drugs they almost killed me to get rid of the pain. And then they're telling me that they couldn't help me. I should be, would you like me to do? Slice you from here to here? And I have friends, like, they literally my friends, and Jim sitting there, you know, many people ride or die. 2 people showed up to that hospital, guys, in pain. Because I was torn apart from everything. 2 people out of my whole life, because I've walked a lot of changes, a lot of path. Only 2 people showed up. Not one person in my family showed up to that. And I was dying, and you know, they wanted to look on me because they never seen me growing up, and as I always walked my own path, you know, people, it's not acceptable, right? They think they know who I am, they don't know me. I would love for them to phone me up someday and video chat and, you know, really listen, and me listen to them and get to know conceptually who each other is. We all need to do that unity. And I think that happens to Ride in a lot of family homes. But, so 2 people showed up, and one of them was, you know, still totally acceptable. Then, you know, yelling at me as well to calm down. No, like, dude, I'm dying, and this is your job. Like, I need to, I was dying. And anyways, so I was there for a couple weeks, 3 weeks or a month or something, and it ended up being like a 2 months process of the hospitals or something. And I had some trouble at home because Jade, my daughter, she went to her friends and didn't know, so I was freaking out. I'm like, I don't know, you know, I'm freaking out because of course she's smart because they're smart, and she just kind of tricked her way into being able to go to another friend's house instead of where she's supposed to be. But I used to do that when I was a kid too, you know. I love you. And so I panicked, and they released me because as I didn't realize that, I'm like, why are they gonna put me in surgery? But the pain was going away and I was getting better, right? Because they had me on pharma. I couldn't feel it, and you know what I mean? They were curing my infection, septic infection. I was getting better. But I was still, that unbeknownst, I was still internally cut open, okay? And that's what Bracebridge had said to them, but Aurelia had decided, no, we're just going to deem ourselves right. They're wrong. Bracebridge is wrong. Okay, this happened to me when I was 16, too, twice. They did 2 CAT scans. One told them I had this fractured spine right where I punched my back. That's how I know it is. And the other one told them they didn't, but they didn't like that I spoke up when the nurse was like, oh my God, when my friend puked on him. And he was not being helped then, actually choking on his puke because her fucking shoe has had puke on it. And I lost it. I was right at the same time. I was probably 14 and just turned 15 because then I was kicked out right after that onto the street because, you know, I was partying. I got in a car accident with a friend of mine. And, not partying. We had a couple drinks and you know what I mean, a campfire. I didn't even know drugs till I didn't see any of that till I was like 25, and then I didn't see it again until 32. Like I had a good life. So for me to be ripped out of my fucking family and put on the street and social ward. So your social ward, you don't even get help, okay? As a child, after my age, family didn't want to help me anymore. Like, it's not, and they just, you know what, they were being socially acceptable, and what they thought was right, now I should be listening, and I'm like, what, I am listening, I do all the stories, you know, I'm a good kid, I fucking, you know, I take care of you, I love you guys, I do my thing, but they couldn't understand why I'm my mom, and the perception of all the real lies that we've been living, we can finally, hopefully, realize. So, yeah, so anyways, so they left me with 2, the Belleville, and back in Belleville, the 2 CAT scans, they told me, no, they shipped me out, because I was starting to get mouthy, they didn't, you can't talk like that here, so 2, we know, if one tells you that it does, one tells you it doesn't, you need a 3rd one, I don't care, true, the truth, mathematics, you know, you need a 3rd one to have an offset of a fucking opinion, right, if one is one way and one is the other way, you need something to level it out, to have a, you know, trial and error to the greater the mode or whatever it is, you know. So, whatever. Mathematically, we know it's true. Anyways, so back to the other one. When they let me go, because I was panicking, I know you're free to leave, you know, just kept in, you're doing good. Well, they didn't do it. When I got there, I guess the ultrasound, they did an ultrasound themselves, and they were like, no, you're just full of infection, blah, blah, blah. Even Bracebridge is wrong. Well, no, I was just so full of infection and blood that you could no longer see the cut that they'd seen. So you deemed them wrong. You malpracticed and neglected every one of them from the time of the the clinic down in Toronto to Bracebridge Hospital to Orillia Hospital, and it was Belleville Hospital. All of these hospital experiences I've ever had is literally been bad. Every part of the system that I've been confronted with has torn me apart and like ripped my life apart. So I know that my changing of my life, my mirrors told me that, because trust me, hon, I know what to ride or die on. I know what is true and what is not, and I know what is wrong and what is right. And I know that thoughts, all these thoughts that kids are being, oh, I think this is happening over there, or I want to make a phone call. No, all that shit's wrong. It is wrong, because thoughts are not real. It is imagination. So whatever I think, unless I know, I got nothing to stand on, okay? Thoughts are not real. They are a theory. A thought is a theory. And maybe if I can prove it right, then. But, thought. Okay, so. Anyways, so after I left for the, because I gotta go my daughter and find her, and you know, she's a little mini, and I love my kids so much. It's every time I think of them, I'm so happy. I love beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful souls. Thank you, Lord. However, 3 days later, I was rushed back into Bracebridge, and then, you know, as I got there, he had the head doctor there that I'd come down after 8 hours of his nurses telling me, like, no, and he was mad, like, he was upset. Whoever that, I forget his name, he was probably in his late 30s or early 40s, and he was a good guy. Forgive me if I forgot your name, but you work at Bracebridge, Ontario Hospital, and you know, I'm sure you'll remember the story. And I thank you very much. You're compassionate, and you're listening, and your empathy and understanding, and wanting to devote yourself to your job properly and to humanity. And as well, after that, then he phoned Orillia, and he lost it on Orillia. He's like, what? Pardon me? Like, you did me wrong, and you sent her home. I was back in his hospital again, dying, bleeding internally, so, you know what I mean? And he said, nah. So then both of the head doctors from both hospitals then finally were dealing with me, because I was being neglected from, shit, I've been neglected my whole life by the system. Like, neglected and beaten and complete bad, inhumane practice of anything that I can't follow and put my name. My name ain't my name anyway. You don't get to force a name onto me. I came into this world as just it. I'm just it. I'm is, and I am in every now. I don't have a name. You don't get to throw a name on me and throw me into a registration in a system and then tell me I have to fucking follow your rules. Go fuck yourself, okay? I am free and sovereign, and I'm divinely free. It's on my birthright, and everybody's birthright is all humanity is divine, and we are divine, higher frequency beings. We are beings of love. So all the unloved, all the unloved, all the unsouled, or all the soulless, you either need to form into being a nicer person and part of humanity, or you need to rid yourself of this place too, without killing it. Okay? Because we love it, and we love our divine. We love everything that we've been given, even though we haven't been looking at our eyes to see it, probably, because you've been coerced not to. We love it. Okay, get out. Be gone. Be gone with y'all. Do not pass go. Do not connect $200. Just be gone, okay? Be gone with yourself. You trust in Trudeau as well. Yep, you can go. Canada doesn't want you. The electoral government, us, the people, Justin Trudeau, like Trump says, you're fired, buddy. You are fired. Love you, Trump. You guys, Trump did it for humanity with no money. He did it for, and he even said in his, if you watch all of his background, he said when he was younger, when they asked him to be president, he said, no, unless the America needs them, unless, the kind of fundamental, humanity. And that's what he got to. He knew the truth, and he was standing up and trying to tell you that. And he's like, I'm gonna drain the swamp. Well, what lives in a swamp, guys, other than reptiles? And he's like, I'll tell you. He's like, you see. Believing and seeing is believing. He's like, you guys will not believe until you see. Just like Jesus said, if you believe it, you'll see it. If you just take my word for it, as I'm telling you, what I'm divinely know is my truth, I'm telling you, but you're not listening to me. You don't want to listen to me. You're looking on to me. Okay? Though, there's so much going on that if we just stop looking on to each other and start realizing that there is a corruption, but it's not from my neighbor, thy neighbor. It is not from thy love and thy family. It is doctrine and conditioned onto us is corruption from tyranny and governments that is taken over by, beings that don't want love. They don't want you to be humane. They want you to slave. They look at you as a cow, like cattle, like zooed human beings. That's fucking, I don't think so. I always tell people to suck my, and the people that are very conditioned, they hate that because I'm not supposed to be a girl, right? I'm not supposed to be allowed to say that. Oh, you think you're no, I'm whatever I want to be, and I'm pretty good. I know that I used to. Thank you, Hendrix. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Anyways, I guess I can put this back on for 2 seconds, but I should probably go. I've got you on. Well, I just let talk to them for a second, because the more I listen to them, the more I have to say to you. So, Joe Rogan, I hope you share this with my 20% of you of like shamanist dreams and understanding the truth and Buddhism.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with Brian on that particular point that we think we know everything about where consciousness emanates.
I didn't know if you know you're not yet, just like I didn't know who fell for me and died for me in Egypt until I did. And we're all still united in one universal divine
so of course he thinks that way. I also don't think he's ever had a DMT experience.
That's right. I wonder that some people I think give him a quick dose, because I as well I respect Brian, and it's further to my point, similar to the hunting argument. I happen to believe in God, but when I talked to Brian Cox, I got to the point where I was saying, all right, even though I believe in God and you are an atheist, call myself an atheist. Well, I felt like we both got to the point where we said compassion, kindness, and love are the most important things. So in this way, who cares?
So when you say you believe in God, do you believe in the traditional God of Christianity? Do you believe in God as a concept? Do you have your own definition for it?
Just so we know that Himalayan, who has become my very, very good friend.
Oneness and transcendence that you're talking about through your DMT experiences, that says, love and kindness and love and awareness. I believe that is the most real thing. I think that preceded all matter, and I think that we can interact with it. So I don't believe God in just a Gaia way, that the whole world is like an interactive, biological, living, breathing goddess. I believe that yes, and that we can commune with it. And furthermore, the relevance of it for me is that it suggests to me that we should be acting kindly and lovingly. And when we're thinking about how do we organise our systems, that our awareness of that energy, accessible to all of us, should be paramount in our understanding of how we organise. So, what I think is that we should look at, we've been through as human beings, so many advents, the agriculture, technology, industry, thinking that the sun went around the earth, thinking that the earth was flat, with all due respect to Eddie Bravo. And before each of these realizations and each of these changes, we always think we're at the summit. We never know what's going to be the thing that's going to change. My suspicion is that what's going to change is the way we relate to consciousness and the way we see ourselves as individuals, that we start to have an understanding that becomes a priority. That thing you described of when I've come back from DMT trips, I recognise this is just an illusion and it's not real. I think that will I believe that we need to prioritise that and progressing along that line. What are the implications of this not being the most real frequency there is? How do we organise society on that basis? How does that affect how we relate to one another? How should we be governing? How does that affect justice? That should be in the mix, instead of how many fucking terrifying arachnoid weird gate robot motherfuckers can we cook up? That's the way we're going. The progressive technological route, because it's created medicine, because it's saved so many lives, because it's given us wonderful technology, the spirit of entrepreneurship, but all of that energy, it all gets pushed in one direction. It all goes that way, and I feel that we need to invite that back. The sacred and the divine need to be back in the conversation.
Well, there's certainly going to be pros and cons with everything. There's definitely pros and cons with the creation of technology. I think of human beings as, if you go back to single-celled organisms, they have very little awareness of their environment. And then as they became primitive bugs, as things evolved, they developed more awareness. But even us, in comparison to certain animals have heightened senses of smell and survival instincts, but they're also colorblind. And they don't see things. They see edge detection. That's one of the things about deer. They see movement. So if you wear camouflage and your pattern is broken up with a grid, and then you stay put, they don't see you.
Yeah.
It doesn't register to them. They see movement. So we have a far more complex system of recognition than they do in terms of visually, the way we see things. And I think that whatever skills or whatever senses that we've evolved, I don't think that's it. I don't think that we've reached the pinnacle of it. And I think that as beings become more and more evolved, they'll probably gain more and more senses, and that could be directly related to technology. it's totally possible that what's going on with technologies that we're also developing through external means, a way for us to see the world, a way for us to view, like what they've done with the Large Hadron Colliders, like the best example of it, right? What they do with the Hubble Space Telescope and other telescopes. You're using technology to gain awareness and to see more things. And that this is the good side of technologies, that it's allowing us to have a far greater understanding of all the variables that surround us that we might not be able to detect with our senses.
Yes.
That this is a part of who we are. And then I think when you're talking about things like psychedelic experiences, that's probably another realm of understanding that we haven't really achieved yet, because we're still evolving as a species, as a thing.
What I think is interesting is that the continual bias along that technological path is towards profit. You know, when we see those machines, the end point is always how do we maximize profit. There is no, like, the influence of how do we do what's right. That's like a sort of a person, like a sort of a general ethical what do I want to say, sort of code is not being introduced. There is no regulation.
Right.
Like, ultimately people will create the warrior monkeys or the most profitable machines. People will, because the counter argument isn't being made. No one is, like, well, I'm saying no one's making it. There's no union of there's no sort of clear opinion of, hang on a minute, where could we be going? No, there is no body or ideology that's able to oppose the relentless march of capitalism. I'm not sort of like a flat out, capitalism is bad, here I am promoting a book, using an iPhone, or you know what I mean, we're all swimming in it.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that if we acknowledge there are transcendent realms, there is information, data that exists beyond what we're able to receive with our senses, how are we going to incorporate that in the way we organise? Because otherwise the sort of the magnetism, the pull, the G-force of what's most profitable, what's going to continue to suit the requirements of the powerful, that will
basically stating the root of all evil
in that direction. And it seems like where that's heading is certain kinds of ecological disaster, certain kinds of economic inequality, certain kinds of conflict. Yeah, and like one of the simple experiments that I apply is, if people say, oh, what's wrong with the world? The world's so fucked, all this polarity. I sometimes think, well, who is benefiting from how it is now? Is anyone benefiting? Are there any groups, institutions, or individuals for whom this current state is beneficial?
No.
And if the answer to that question is yes, then look at who those institutions are, and they are most likely, to a degree, involved in establishing and maintaining these systems. And there are, institutions and individuals and organisations that this works just fine for.
But are they just capitalizing on it, or are they organizing it? And is a normal part of the way human beings operate, with this constant desire for innovation, constant desire for improvement. We always want to push further. No one's comfortable where they are. They always want to be in a better place. And this is almost like it's built into capitalism, right?
I agree.
That this materialism, which is built into capitalism, also is what fuels innovation.
Yes.
Because you want the newest iPhone, so they have to design it and build it and make it.
I agree.
And when new things come out, like this new robot that apparently, 100 models, whatever that means. What that is they're going to sell it. So there's it's fueling innovation. Someone else will come along and compete with Boston Dynamics, and then there would be innovation wars. If these innovation wars weren't in place right now, our phones would look nothing like the iPhone 10. It just wouldn't. It wouldn't
Yes.
look like the SX. It would look like, who knows what it would look like. But there would be no incentive for them to
Okay, so I'm
compete
gonna back
against
that
all
up.
these Samsung devices and Huawei devices, and all that stuff is fueling this innovation, but it's all being fueled by capital.
Okay, I'll get rid of this, I promise, because it's not good for kids. I think rubbish here, Okay, so I'm gonna back it up because I gotta hear it again. And because I had a good point to what Joe Rogan, I'm gonna give you an answer here. It's the unity you ask for. Obviously, they're talking about creation and how we have to go through trial and error of building all these materialistic things to get to the best one, okay? No, we don't. Okay, we have the most innovative computer system ever, the most inventive and innovative. We have the most miraculous invention ever created. And it's within ourselves. It's ourselves. We have the capacity and the brain and the knowledge and the portal and the dimensional knowledge and the ways of getting and the best. And the best would have been like, the Egyptians made pyramids, guys. Yes, sacred geometry, those pyramids in the, if you build the little pyramid in the same dimensions as the Giza, you will change your life. It'll change your happiness. It'll raise your frequencies. The Russia built one, and just a little smaller, and they fixed their ozone. We know how to economically have all the things that we want and need, that we need. Because we don't need to want for everything. If we see the beauty of everything that we already have, wow, that is enough to relish in the rest of lifetimes for, I'm sure of it. And we need to now take the time to unify, like we said, unify. So unity, Joe, means all one for the greater good, for one forward direction. It doesn't mean competing, okay? It means we need to, as one, come up and realize which person has each part of the puzzle, each piece of the puzzle. Because we all have a piece of the puzzle. We're all a piece of it, right? Unity. We all have a little piece of it. And we can, with 7 billion of us, I'm sure of it, come up with everything fundamentally the best. That we don't have to wreck the planet for, pollute the oceans, ship things up, fucking make things over and over and over for the greed. The root of all evil and the demise and the divide of everything, the killing of our planet will come from the root of all evil, which is money. We do not need to be making money to live in the world that we have been born into, just like a wolf and a turtle and a fish and anything that came before us, the Nephilim, and other planets. All of these things exist, guys. All these people that, they then made their millions and they made their own movie titles, it's because they wanted you to know truth. So, if you go out of the name brand stuff, all the essential businesses that stay open because they're the ones corrupting your lives, they're the ones setting the fires and making the wars, they're making you believe stuff and making you sign up for stuff to be a better part of society and have more money and be acceptable. And you're warring and shooting people that you don't even know why. They're standing for their beliefs and you're standing for yours. And you're standing for money, actually, when you go over and you sign your name to shoot a person in the head for war. Okay, just to be a part of I'm with the... No, buddy, you're with all of everything. So anybody, the cops, you, civil servants, civil serving is to serve the civilians. Not to be corrupted and using half of you cops, and I'm going to say it, cops, I call you civil servants, and when they tried to take me through court for me standing up for another friend, if I stood up for a friend and I had his back, and I had to take on his charges, and I had to ride with him through court, because they were co-charges. And so as I tried to humanely have his back, I got busted as well, and with his book bag. I didn't know what he had in it, whatever. It was his book bag, but I know I'm free to leave. If you're free to leave as a passenger, you don't need to give any information, by the way. You better know your law, because all the corrupted and the ones that wanted to shove on their belief system that's been jammed into them because they rat race to get to the top and the best and they're part of accepted society. I'm sorry, but you're wrong, and you're very inhumane. And you are the meek. You really are the meek. You're the unintelligible. You're the unwanting to transcend. You think you know it all. Well, you can't get to know it all until your brain raises to the frequency of knowing all. The Ashtek Rusher is the universal knowledge and the memory of all. You can't get there until you let go, and you let go. But you guys have so much control into everything, and you can't. It's harder for you guys to let go, I'm sure of it. But you need to understand, when you sign your name, or your so-called name, your word, the only word comes within you. It's your desire, it's your intention, it's who you are, it's what you stand for. Okay? But when you put your name down on a fucking piece of paper for a money and a badge and some control, and you ride or die that without even actually putting your full self in devotion and what you live for, what you would do for yourself onto yourself, if you can't ride or die that signature, why would you take that job just for money? Why would you be going out and you use little rats that I've seen beat women and rape women and just, I've seen you use them, and they're out up free on the street. Well, the good humane people that are just in their homes, oh my God, they're using drugs because the drug war on drugs. Oh my God, you're such a horrible person. I had a cop come to my friend's houses. He was on the run or whatever because because he did drugs, and that's all they had on him, really? Clearly. He was one of the nicest and most humane, and we all have been. All those people that have tried all these stuff, and you know, actually experience life. Well, you guys are living in your cage, in your box. Get outside the box. Your eyes are wide shut. Get it? You know, all these epiphanies of these names and fucking signs. Believe, you know, live, love, laugh. Anyways, he was the most humane. He would give you the shirt off his back, and we all have. I will give you the shirt off my back, even when you rob me. I've been robbed. I've lost everything I've ever owned, because everywhere I go, I am the acceptance. I will accept you. I will ride or die, because when I meet you and I stand for what I am. It doesn't matter. You know, it's girl Ashley. I gotta say her name. I'm gonna put it out there. Ashley, I love you. You know, she's got her ways. She's got her magic. She can move her magic, and she doesn't know it. She believes me and listens to me, which is good. Because she, at first, you know, she tried to pull one over on me, and I was not allowing it. And she did not like that I was not allowing it. And you know, we got into her. You know, fisticuffs, and that's how it should be, you know. And if you got a problem with me, don't spit your words out at me that's unintelligible. Let's just drop some fists. Let's fight it out. You know, we don't need weapons. We don't need to kill each other. But trust me, we need some aggression to put out of us so that we can become a unity into one, you know. And one, and we realize, oh shit, this is going nowhere, like nowhere fast. So, you know, and we probably both stand for the same thing, as we both stand for, like, our solidarity. You know, we both ride or die at what we chose. And that's why I like her so much. She, you know, ethically, I can see all her demons and stuff that force her reasoning for what she does, and how she acts, and the things she, you know, tries, the manipulation and stuff. And but I can see her ride or die. And you know, I called one night. I need to ride, and she went out of her way, you know, breaking the laws. The so-called laws are not God's laws. So, okay, I can drive. Okay, you do you. Just because you changed my constitution a long time ago, that's tyranny, by the way. I don't need to pay you to drive, okay? And the fact that you want to take me off the road, and you took my vehicle, I'm without a vehicle. I have to pay $6,000 up front before the, and I've never done anything wrong. I was doing drugs every day. You know, my vehicles. I sold my truck, and then I got a car, and I didn't even move that car out of the driveway, because I knew that it was wrong. I knew that it was wrong, and it was immoral, and I wasn't going to put myself in that position because I love my freedom. Okay, so I made all the good choices. There's no reason, just because my truck, well, you know, I was pushing my truck, the guy would give me all these charges, or I fender bendered, I got scratched a little like, bumper on a car, and you know, I'd say I got like a 15 hour speeding ticket, and like literally nothing, and I can't drive. Like, you know, they made it hard for me to drive. They put me on the street to begin with. You know, and try to make yourself up in the world when you won't conform to anything that you don't believe in and put your hand. That's what I was saying to you cops. Like, how can you sign something and put your word onto something and you not even have both sides? You don't even know the truth of what you're doing. Therefore, how can you ride or die on that shit? And you can put me out, okay? You can try to diminish me and make me some part of the ladder that is made up in your head just to live in a rat race where you're literally just a piece of it. You're a pawn. You're not loved. They do not love you, okay? I love you still. I still accept you. I forgive you because I understand the blinding. That was my whole reasoning for, I want you to see the truth. I want people to